All right. So thank you everyone for coming. My name is Becca. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Loveland Center, and we're very excited to have a large team with us today to talk about some self-advocacy. And I'm gonna pass the presenter over to Michelle so that she and the rest of their team can present.
All right, can everyone see the slides?
Yep.
Perfect.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to be talking all about Florida Stands and Florida Self-Advocacy Movement. This presentation is by Breaking Barriers Training and the Florida Stands Fellows. My name is Katie Kaiser, and I'm a Year 2 Fellow, and I also have on this call Mandy, Michelle, and Denise.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Zeman. And first, thank you, Katie, for introducing all of us. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about what the Florida Self-Advocacy Movement is. So the Florida Self-Advocacy Movement is an organized effort to increase the voice and influence of self-advocates in Florida through the work of the Florida Self-Advocates Network, otherwise known as Florida SAND, and of course the Florida SAND Fellows. So that's those of us who are presenting on this call tonight. The Florida Sand Fellows administer what's called an outreach plan that basically drives the movement. So we're in charge of making sure that everyone has some sort of way to be able to drive the movement in their local area. And with that being said, the Florida Sand Network is the backbone of the Florida self-advocacy movement. All of us in Florida Sand are really the ones who are going in, we're advocating, and yet at the same time, we're also doing things within our local area and making sure that we report on that when we meet together.
Hi, my name is Denise, and I'm sorry, but I am not seeing the slide. But could you guys tell me when it's my turn? Because I am not seeing the slide on my screen. I'm sorry. Yeah, there it is now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Sorry, let me start over. My name is Denise, and I am a second fellow, and I'm going to give you the definition about self-advocacy. Self-advocacy is generally defined as speaking up when it comes to issues and decisions that are important in your life uh, and all the life of other people with disabilities. Grassroots advocacy is taking initiatives to solve the problem in their community through awareness, education, and public policy.
Thank you, Denise. Hello, everybody. My name is Mandy Ranachek, and I am a second year Florida Sand Fellow. I'm here to talk about the self advocacy having four connected parts. So, the first part is strong self advocates, speaking up and speaking out, using your voices to affect change. Community integration, participating in the community. Um, People with disabilities, we are a vital part of the community. And the more we participate, the more that we are seen and that the more action gets done, showing that we are capable of doing things, great things, actually. Everyday opportunities and the expectation to be a self advocate where you live or work, speaking up for yourself, choosing where you want to live, where you want to work, what you want to do with your day are all vital parts of our lives, just like anyone else. And being part of a self advocacy group defines support. Um, Strength always comes in numbers. And if you find like minded individuals, you can make magic happen.
Thank you, Mandy. Now we're going to go over examples of personal self-advocacy. Many times, self-advocates will need help with these things. So part of advocacy is asking for help with these things, knowing your rights, ADA, and home and community-based services, negotiating for yourself when it's time to talk about where you want to live or work. Mandy, can you give us an example of negotiating, sorry, and for yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I could definitely talk about negotiating for yourself. So, a few years back, I went up to Rhode Island to visit a good friend of mine named Bill. Bill is a really strong self advocate up in Rhode Island who has cerebral palsy, and he lives in an independent living apartment complex where he has staff people that take care of him and his neighbors. So, it took a little bit of coordination to make this trip happen. I was there for a week for a conference, and we went to a self-advocacy conference together, very similar in tune to the Family Cafe. If you guys have been to the Family Cafe, it's the big self-advocacy disabilities conference in Orlando. They have every June. So the Rhode Island one usually happens in October. I made the trip up in October, and we were negotiating pretty much how we were going to spend that week. And part of that was how long we would be able to stay at the conference for. So most of the places that were up there, most of the group homes, can you guys still hear me okay? My phone just turned off for a second.
Yep, we hear you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Sorry about that. So most of the group homes had very strict curfews because of the direct support staff hours. And we were able, me, Bill, and some of his neighbors, we were able to convince the staff to let us be one of the very last people to leave the dance. The dance happened from like 7 p.m. to about 10 p.m. We didn't leave until about 10:30. We were actually the last house there. So negotiating for ourselves to make change happen, to be able to stay and kind of have a good time knowing that, this is like a special moment for me being able to go to this conference, along with one of my good mentor friends, was definitely a memory. And to this day, I believe some of his neighbors still talk about it. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Mandy. Michelle, can you give us an example of one of the personal self-advocacies that you have?
Absolutely. So, thinking a lot about accessing the resources that you need. I know personally, I work in a job where I have a lot of different processes that I have to follow. One of the things that I have to do is I have to make sure that I am looking at what everybody is doing and have like a visual reference. I need some sort of visual guide to help me through. So I have asked my employer before if there's a way that there can be some written processes or some visuals to help me through some of those things, because I might be told something, but I'm not going to remember it all unless someone were to write it down or give me some sort of visual guide. So when it's come to accessing the resources that you need, and also in a way asking for what you need, I've been able to advocate for myself on that end, and I've been able to teach people to do the same thing, because in life, there might be some things that we might need help with. And so when you're accessing and asking for the resources that you need, it does help you with your personal self advocacy. Because of this, I've been able to be in a directorial role for the last 2 years, and it's been incredibly fulfilling for me. So it's really important to hone in on that.
Okay, thank you. Here, self-advocacy in your community. You can join a self-advocacy group or a start one. Resident people with disability on community board. In Miami, we have Coding, that is a disability board that represents people with disability. Tell somebody that you are being discriminated against or bullied. Think out about a local problem affecting people with disability. An example of it might be speaking to a business when employee or customers use accessible parking or customer blocking sidewalk at a outdoor restaurant. Unfortunately, this happens a lot in Florida. Another example is addressing a broken sidewalk near the home of someone who uses a wheelchair.
All right. Thanks, Denise. So, we just learned a little bit about what self advocacy is like in the community. We learned a little bit about what personal self advocacy is, and we talked about um, how self advocacy has multiple parts. Now, let's talk. We're going to shift gears a little bit. We're actually going to talk a little bit about how this all relates to Florida Sand. So, Florida Sand is a network of self advocacy groups that evolved from the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council. Local communities were given a small grant, training, and support to start an existing local self-advocacy group starting in 2008. When these groups came together to form a statewide network, they chose the name Florida Self Advocates Networked with a D at the end, otherwise known as Florida Sand. And of course, after that, that's when the statewide board was formed, and it comprised of a representative from each group. We met by phone in the early days, and we added at-large members in 2019. Since then, we have moved over to Zoom meetings. So we started that in 2020. In 2015, we established bylaws and we became a 501c3. And the cool thing about our bylaws is that it states that each grassroots group must be self advocate led, meaning that a person that is running these groups has to be a self advocate. It's not a parent, it's not someone who, is like a caregiver, it's the self advocate themselves. And of course, too, network. The network has been as large as serving 19 groups, and today we have 13 active groups from Pensacola down to Miami. Denise is actually going to show you where these groups are in the next slide.
Thank Michelle.
Sorry, give me just 1 second.
Mhm.
There we go.
Thank Michelle. These are the various groups from the 13 groups that we currently have. The inactive group needs a core group of self-advocates and advisor to be reactivated. The information in the Florida Stand Toolkit and handbook on starting a new group.
Thanks, Denise, for going over the different groups that are a part of Florida Sand. So now let's dive into a little bit more Florida Sand history. So we have the Florida Sand Board that started meeting face-to-face annually. This evolved into biennial statewide conferences with as many as 160 self-advocates, their providers, and supporters. And because of this, we've been able to come together and, speak and advocate within our local community about different issues that are going on. Of course, too, the Florida Sand Fellows began the pilot phase in 2020. So, as I stated a little earlier, that's those of us who are presenting today. All of us are Florida Sand Fellows. After that, the Breaking Barriers Training Academy, this was established in 2020 to brand self-advocates as thought leaders and trainers with lived experience in the self-advocacy field. So our training today is part of the Breaking Barriers Training Academy. And that being said, the Florida Sand has had 3 training and technical assistance providers. Right now, OMS currently provides technical and training assistance to the Florida Sand Fellows, And we as fellows provide this training and technical assistance to the Florida Sand Board and grassroots groups that are around the state of Florida.
Thank you, Michelle. Now we're going to talk about what does Florida Sand do? Our mission, each group has its own local meetings, events, projects, officers, and advisors. There's a statewide board of directors meet via Zoom in October, December, February, April, and August, and then they meet at Family Cafe in person on June. And this picture is from the last board meeting that we had at our conference in August.
Thank you, Katie. So what else does Florida Sand do? Well, groups come together to work on regional or statewide self-advocacy projects, such as establishing a legislative platform each year that delivers to state legislators. So those legislative priorities could include anything from our own priorities as Florida Sand itself, or we share Florida Developmental Disabilities Council's legislative platforms. Those platforms include provider rates, reducing the wait lists, and supportive decision making, which was a really big win for us. I believe it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. Also, Florida Sand is frequently asked to resource presentations and meetings where the self-advocate voice is needed, which, you're here at one of our presentations now. So we were invited for the ARC for their advocacy days last year. Florida Center for Inclusive Communities asked us to present on self-advocacy for them as well. Florida Sand spoke at advocacy days, like I mentioned earlier. We do Family Cafe. Some of us do Florida Sand related presentations for Breaking Barriers Training Academy. And some of us like to split off and do our own presentations. As a matter of fact, Michelle does some really good presentations from her perspective as a behavior analyst. So as you can see in the picture, the lady in the red dress is a former U.S. Commissioner on Disabilities. She came to Florida Sand for a listening session during the first Trump administration. She's currently awaiting confirmation to lead the Department of Labor's Disability Employment Office. So yeah, that's a cool thing.
Okay, thank Lindsay for that. Local group community activity. Self-advocacy group are involved in a variety of activities that include advocacy and special events. The first is that voices of advocate reaching community in Jacksonville is volunteering. The next feature is that Clay County filmmakers volunteering at the community local library.
And here are some more local group activities. So Cool Abilities, our group in Pensacola, they did their annual Advocate of the Year award ceremony. And this is a picture of Rachel Long presenting the award to Micah. They were also at the Family Cafe this year, along with several of our groups. The Family Cafe is at Disabilities Conference here in Florida that I mentioned earlier. And also, self advocates come together brainstorming project ideas at our Florida Self Advocacy Conference. We hold our own self advocacy conference biannually, so every 2 years. Our next one should be in 2026, or excuse me, 2027.
Now we're going to talk about examples of local group advocacy. Advocate with local leaders about community problems, accessibility issues, transportation, employment, and housing. Here's how we do this. Call or send postcards and emails to officials or businesses. Contact them through social media posts and direct messages. Attend and speak at city, county government meetings. Work with county ADA directors and start local government disability advisory groups, or make sure people with disabilities are represented on these groups. Awareness activities, Local Disability Awareness Day, Wheelchair Challenge, and projects to benefit people with disabilities. Don't forget to publicize your advocacy on social media, newspaper, TV, and radio stations. Let the community know what you're doing.
Thank Katie. Here are a couple example of Florida Sand group advocating in the community. As you can see, self-advocacy groups are involved in a variety of activities, including self-advocacy, advocacy, education, and social events. The first picture is of a event from Pringle Point conducting a silent protest at a community event. In this picture, a group of self-advocates are on the lawn with other people in the local park. They are holding signs that say things like, "Don't cut funding to our service," and dedicated message to low-income people. The next picture is at Clay County Senate advocating as a Florida Voices for LK meeting.
And this is magical. This is the group in Orlando. This is my baby. I actually contacted Florida Sand back in 2018 to create this wonderful little group. We created an event here in Orlando to kind of supplement the Developmental Disabilities Day that is held in Tallahassee because most people with disabilities, they can't afford that travel to get there. So, with under the direction of Michael Lincoln McCrate, which is the gentleman in the blue, and then of course our wonderful Michelle Zeman, the dress, sitting next to me. Both of them, along with Patrick DRC, who's in the red shirt next to Michael, they created this event by using the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council's self-advocacy toolkit on their website. And it started off as just a couple people in the downtown Orlando Public Library with a public stake. Then it turned into a big event that we have every year around March 29th. They held it at the Iron Workers Union back in 2024. And as you could see in this photo, we had quite a great turnout. We had different county commissioners to come out. We had people from the Orlando Letterboard community come out. Family care councils came out, as well as police departments and other nonprofits. I even got United Against Poverty Orlando to come out, which is an organization that I'm very familiar with. I volunteer on occasion. So every year, this event continues to grow. We share speeches and stories about our lives as people with developmental disabilities. We invite the public to share their stories and their testimonies as well. We held our event in 2025 at the Sunlight Community Church out in Winter Garden, and we are in the early process of planning out next year's event. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, if you want to learn more about that, there was a really good podcast. Which is on that QR code in the slide that you can see.
All right. Thank you, Mandy, and everybody who talked about the different group activities that have happened within Florida Sand. We're gonna shift gears. We're gonna move from group advocacy down to the Florida Sands Fellowship Leadership Program. So what we do as fellows, this is a paid 1 to 2 year immersive training program that is that's designed for experienced self-advocate leaders. This internship focuses on developing problem-solving, leadership, and management skills, like being able to participate in virtual training sessions, host them, speak with a variety of people. So assignments for fellows include providing training and technical assistance to the Florida Stand Board of Directors, offering support to the network of local self-advocacy groups, including some of the ones that we just spoke about a few minutes ago, and of course, developing training in self-advocacy related topics through Florida Stand's Breaking Barriers Training Academy. You'll get to hear a little bit more about the Training Academy very soon, too.
Thank you, Michelle. Now we're going to talk about the Breaking Barriers Training Academy. Florida SAN established the Breaking Barriers Training Academy in 2020 to offer training for self-advocates, parents, providers, and other disability stakeholders. The Academy focuses on self-determination, self-advocacy, disability sensitivity, and related topics. What sets Breaking Barriers apart is that the majority of this program are created and presented by self-advocates. To get more information about the Breaking Barriers Training Academy, please visit www.flsand.org/BBTA.
Thank you, Katie. And here's what is currently being offered with our Breaking Barriers Training Academy. We currently offer the route to self. Let me try that again. We currently offer the route to self-determination train the trainer course virtually. This course, developed by the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council, is designed to serve self-advocates throughout the state, especially in regions where face-to-face training might not be accessible. We also have two more titles in our Self-Advocacy Essential series. One is about the Working People with Disabilities program, and the other one is about home and community-based services and you. And if you would like to get those updates on what is currently being offered through Breaking Barriers Training Academy, please visit us at www.flsand.org/BBTA.
Thank you, ladies, for talking about the Breaking Barriers Training Academy and what we offer. So now let's talk a little bit about FSA Central and the Self-Advocacy Movement and Outreach Plan. So FSA Central stands for the Florida Self-Advocacy Central. And FSA Central is a website and social media hub that talks about self-advocacy news and information. The vision for FSA Central is to be the go-to source for self-advocacy news and information. There are 4 hub components, and that includes the following: FloridaSand.org, so FLSAND.org, FloridaSand.org, FSACentral.org. We also have the Florida Self Advocates Networked Facebook page, and of course the Florida Self Advocacy Central Facebook page. So those are some different ways for you to access the Florida Self Advocacy movement here in Florida. And of course, too, how can you get involved? You're probably wondering. So there's a few different ways. Of course, you can visit fsacentral.org to get news on self-advocacy. You can also visit floridasand.org to get news on the groups in the local area. Also, email contactflsand@gmail.com to get in touch with a group or learn how to start one on our own. And finally, you'll get to hear a little bit more about this. We also have monthly self-advocacy Zoom calls, first Monday of each month at 7 p.m.
Thank you, Michelle. So, what is those monthly calls? Well, they're called Amplify. Each month, we choose a selected topic about just anything disability related in general. And it's a great open forum to share your opinions, your trips, your tips, your tricks, your life hacks, anything that you've been through. So here's how to get more involved with it. You head over to flsan.org. You can find the handbooks and toolkits to help start a group. You can look at those group pages, see if there's a group in your area. And again, with those monthly Amplify calls, those happen on the first Monday of each month at 7 p.m. You are more than welcome to join us.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
Looks like in the chat, how would an individual in an area that doesn't have a self-advocacy group go about starting a self-advocacy group?
Okay, so what they can do is they can go on to the website, the Fortisand Central, or the actual page, and go over to, there's a tab that will say groups, and there's a handbook and a toolkit that gives you information of how to set up a group.
Yeah, so if you go to FL,
Whenever you're, oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, and whenever you're ready to start that group, after reading the handbook and going over what you would need, you would contact Kelly at contactflsand@gmail.com, and she would get the ball rolling on getting you guys set. That's how I started Magical back in 2018. I reached out to her. She sent me all the information I needed on how to get a group going. She helped partner me with an advisor, and we were voted in to the board of directors of Florida Sand, which are also self advocates. And that's how Magical was born. It was a very easy, seamless process. You just did a couple phone calls, couple emails, and boom, you have yourself a group.
There any other more questions?
I have a question. Um, how do you, there was a, oh, I forgot who presented, I'm sorry, but there was the information regarding the trainings. I saw the information there, but it was like too fast.
Okay,
But
so
it was,
sorry, go ahead. So you're talking about the Breaking Barrier Training Academy?
yes,
And
yes.
there's a link down there, and you'll go to flsndsand.org/BBTA, and I'll have all the information about the Breaking Barriers Training Academy.
Is there a way someone could put that in the chat so it would be easier to click on it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me see.
I can do it, Michelle, because I've been
Okay.
putting stuff in the chat.
Okay. Perfect. That's a
You
great
can
idea.
also get it, Elkanah, if you go to the website and click about in training.
Oh, okay.
And you'll
Since I
get
know you.
more in our fellows training and onboarding about that too.
Yeah. And this
Okay.
is the thing too, just so you guys know, anytime we try to make our fellows are actually becoming more and more of our webmasters and doing content, but our web provider, the suffixes on the web pages are case sensitive, so they're all lowercase. So if you go to the fellows page, it's /fellows. If you go to Breaking Barriers, it's /BBTA, but just make sure it's lowercase. /monthly call /board or board BOD for board of directors. And just why I'm unmuted in terms of the local groups, reading the handbook is the best place to start. We do not make payments. That was a previous contract that says that the council supports with payments. But in terms of just how to get the group, it's a good primer before reaching out to us. But the key elements of a successful group is that you have a core group of self-advocate leaders or people that have support to be leaders intact. And that just means maybe 2 or 3, like Mandy said, and then an advisor. An advisor can be a self-advocate with leadership abilities like our fellows, or it can be a parent or provider. But when the group is up and running and they start to have elections and the formal leaders need to be self-advocate. But many of our groups are supported by wonderful advisors that provide training and technical assistance to them and support.
The fellows, so the fellows program is a program that people that have an intellectual disability works together, and we are in a contract where we learn how to be self-advocates. We go to Tallahassee and talk to legislators and give them priorities. We work with this Fortisand board. help them with their board meetings, and then also the local groups that are in the area, we give them technical support with that also.
Yeah, and
So the fellows program, sorry, Michelle, go ahead. You were probably going to say what I'm going to say.
I was just gonna say, if you want to check out the information on the Florida Sand Fellows, so actually the link for that, we can drop this in the chat, flsand.org/fellows. This will actually bring up some information about the Florida Sand Fellows program. And there is some information about the program, there's information about what we do, and also how to join as well.
And it works on a cohort system. We just actually chose the first year cohort, which are some of our fellows here, Elkanah, Laquina, and Christy, who are here. And the applications have to be turned in by August, and we typically do interviewing in September and try to have our cohort ready to go in October.
Is there any more questions? Well, if there's not any more questions, we thank you for having us. And this is the end of our training of the Florida Sands and Florida Network.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, appreciate it. I guess it's just us, Michelle.
It's
Since you're
all
the
of us.
host.
All of us, and it's so
Are we
Hold on.
good to go?
Yeah,